Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with the mighty Jingles, and this will be the final World of Warships replay contest video. The final two prizes are going to be given away in this video, and it's the last video that I'm also uploading this week, because as of tomorrow, I'm off to London for MCM Comic Con once again. Back on Monday with Mingles with Jingles, and then at some point next week there'll be a London MCM Comic Con video as well. But for now, it's World of Warships time, and the first prize that we're going to give away is a premium Japanese battleship, the Mikasa, and that's going to Bismarck 121 here in his Tier 5 premium Soviet cruiser, the Murmansk. He's won the Wildcard prize. Wildcard prize is the one that's been given away to a person who didn't necessarily score the most damage in the category in which he's playing, in this case cruisers, but was one hell of an entertaining game, as I am positive you are going to agree. Murmansk is a very popular ship, and for good reason. It's basically a straightforward copy of the American Tier 5 cruiser, the Omaha, except, well, let's make no bones about it, it is better. The guns fire further, it has better torpedoes, it's just a better ship. The one category in which it isn't quite as good as the regular non-premium Omaha is the turret rotation speed, which is pretty slow. And all that basically means is that it's not as good as the Omaha at doing the old circle of death, where you get within gun range, and then you start sailing in circles. Now this makes it very difficult for the enemy to accurately and consistently land shots on you, particularly if you're varying your speed as well as your course while you're sailing in those circles, but you are constantly presenting freshly loaded gun barrels toward the enemy, because the Omaha and the Murmansk have a lot of guns in the side, as well as those turrets up front and at the rear. The Omaha is slightly better at it because the turrets turn faster. In the Murmansk, you can pretty much guarantee that the guns in the side are going to be ready to fire every time you turn a circle, but the turrets, not so much. They're going to miss the occasional shot, but that's really the only advantage that the Omaha has over this ship. What Bismarck's done just now is he's just launched his spotter aircraft, and what the spotter aircraft does is it increases the range of your main battery guns by an additional 20%, as long as the spotter plane is active. And that did give him a broader selection of targets to choose from in the short time in which he actually had a clear line of fire over to the other side of the island in the middle of the map, but now he's got slightly more immediate problems. It's an enemy Phoenix, that's the American Tier 4 cruiser, and it's very, very similar to the Omaha and the Murmansk. It just doesn't have as much health and the guns aren't quite as good, and, well, you know, it's American, so the torpedoes are terrible, but hey, at least it has torpedoes. As does the Omaha, something that a lot of people forget. As well as the Atlanta, the premium Tier 7 cruiser, they're the only three American cruisers that get torpedoes. Switches to armour piercing to get some shots in on this lightly armoured scout cruiser, and bang, there you go. 2 citadel penetrations, and now that Phoenix is in a lot of trouble. He's turning around, he's getting the hell out of there. Of course, the Phoenix isn't alone. There's a whole bunch of enemy ships coming around this side of the map, and they're the big ones. That's a lot of ships. He's not going to be short of targets here. We've got another Phoenix, we've got the New York, we've got the Wyoming, we've got the South Carolina, the Tenryu, the Furitaka, the Wicks, the enemy destroyers out there as well. That is a lot of enemy ships. He's going to go for the Tenryu first, I think. He's got his armour piercing loaded. It's a light cruiser. Basically a very big destroyer, and bang, look at that, 54 health. Multiple citadel penetrations, and bingo, there's his first kill. The Tenryu did manage to get his torpedoes away, but they're quite clearly visible, and there's the enemy destroyer. Now he's still got armour piercing loaded, so he pops them away at the Phoenix, switches back to high explosive, and targets the Wicks. The Wicks is laying smoke. Are these going to be on target? Yes, the Wicks is still there. You can see his shots coming out. And he scored a couple of hits with high explosive and incapacitated 2 separate modules on him. Quickly switches back to armor piercing, targets the enemy Furitaka, the Tier 5 Japanese, and another citadel penetration. Second enemy Phoenix, also a light cruiser, targets him with the armor piercing, and then starts motoring and falling back because he's starting to become the focus of attention of a lot of these enemy ships. Did score 1 hit. There it is, 1 hit on the Phoenix. And now the New York is reversing for some strange reason. So back to high explosive. Oh, and that's why the New York is reversing. Friendly Miyogi class battleship, Japanese Tier 4, sitting dead in the water and just waiting to die. So That guy's definitely going to be the focus of attention, yep, of all of these enemy guns, as they're scrambling to be the one to put the Miyogi out of his misery, which gives Bismarck some time to start working up this very, very low-speed sitting duck target New York and start setting him on fire with a concentrated barrage of high explosive shells. And there's all three. Oh, that's a lot of battleships. The Wyoming, the New York, and the South Carolina. They've killed the Miyogi, so who are they going to start shooting at now? You'll notice while he's not doing the circle of death here in the Murmansk, because the Murmansk isn't... It can do it, it's just not that good at it. What he is doing is he's varying his speed, even though he's sailing on the same course. And he's getting pretty lucky here. There's some pretty terrible shots coming in from the enemy. Oh, there's the wicks. Alright, back to high explosive. Speed it up a little. And the Phoenix as well. Alright. He's fired the high explosive at the Phoenix. They were in his gun barrels anyway. Switches back to the armor piercing. Phoenix has managed to get his torpedoes away, but they're never going to hit anything. Far too short range. Armor piercing is up. Let's try and nail that Phoenix. The Wicks has fired off his torpedoes and he's out of there. The Phoenix is on very low health. And another 2 Citadel penetrations, claims his second victim of the day. He sunk the Phoenix. But what's going on over here? It looks like that enemy Phoenix, the second one, is attempting to capture B, but he's bitten off slightly more than he can chew here. He is alone over here, although he is chasing down a badly damaged friendly Omaha who is desperately trying to get out of there. So Bismarck to the rescue, armor piercing loaded, scores some hits, defends the cap, and then starts scoring the Citadel penetrations, and he does an absolutely monstrous amount of damage to this Phoenix in a very, very short space of time. Shots out. Look at that, multiple Citadel penetrations. It was the Omaha, I think, who actually got the kill. But definitely the lion's share of the damage done by Bismarck here in the Murmansk. The Phoenix was doomed. He came around that corner and there were at least 3 friendly ships shooting at him. But now somebody needs to get in there and reclaim B. And Bismarck is heading in the right direction. He's got his high explosive loaded in anticipation of having to start shooting at some of those enemy battleships. There's a Kawachi over there. There's the New York. So which one's it going to be? It looks like he's going to go for the New York. In fact, he can already start shooting at the New York. Okay, the island included some of his shots, but his forward batteries managed to get clear. This looks pretty good. Oh, there's some fantastic shooting going on here. Set him on fire with his first barrage, and the second barrage is already in the air. This is how rapidly the guns fire on these ships. At this sort of range, by the time you've hit the target, the second volley of shells has already left your gun barrels. And it looks like he's put the fire out. And he's on fire again. And so he's not going to be able to put that one out. He's returning fire at Bismarck, but none of this appears to be particularly accurate. The New York has popped out of line of sight for a second. There he is. As the cruiser up front clears the island, they regain line of sight on him. But there are more enemy battleships coming around from the right-hand side. This guy's burning away merrily. It's going to be at least a minute before he can extinguish these fires. It's important that you try to spread the fires around, though. And that's exactly what Bismarck is trying to do. He's trying to hit this guy up forward to set him on fire in a second location. That doubles, obviously, the amount of fire damage that you're going to do. He's hitting the midships here now. Not set him on fire again yet, though. But he's scoring multiple hits on this New York. And the New York, there we go, he's on fire in 2 separate locations. And the New York is a good battleship, as battleships go. And he's set him on fire again. No, he's taken a hit, however. Uses his damage control ability to get his engine back up and running. He's taking fire from the enemy South Carolina, but he ignores him for the moment as he pursues this New York. It's like this New York slept with his sister or something. He's determined to do it. And I think he's going to do it as well. The New York's not shooting at him. Instead he's going for the Kuma, which makes sense. The Kuma only has 10,000 health left. He's far easier to kill. And he's got some pretty nasty guns on him as well. Oh, that's less than opportune. He's been hit and set on fire in 2 separate locations. Again, there's some pretty accurate fire coming in from that South Carolina. He's taken a lot of damage. And he can't extinguish the fires for at least another 20 seconds because his damage control ability is also on cooldown. Looks like his anti-aircraft guns are going off there. And he's sunk the New York. Not too concerned about the aircraft. They're just fighters. You can clearly see them on the map. But there's the enemy carrier who got spotted while he was engaging the New York. And he's launched torpedo bombers. And it looks like he's lost some of them, and they're going to be going for the Kuma over there, who is definitely making a beeline for that Bogue class carrier. And you'll note that Bismarck is firing armor piercing at the carrier. Now, you might think, that's a strange choice. Surely you fire high explosive at a carrier in order to put his flight deck out of commission. Yes, you do. If you're worried about the carrier sending torpedo or dive bombers at you, but if you need to kill that carrier as quickly as humanly possible, because you're taking fire from multiple enemy ships, including a South Carolina and a Wix-class destroyer, fire armor piercing at him. You'll sink him a lot faster. Bismarck's put the fires out, and he's continuing to rain armor piercing destruction down on... Oh, wow, did you see that? The Kuma just... Well, okay, two things happened very, very quickly there. The Kuma sailed into a bunch of torpedoes launched by the carrier, and Bismarck sank the carrier with his armor piercing fire. Now, of course, he's got that destroyer to worry about, so back to high explosive. This Wix has been a thorn in his side for far too long. There we go. Come on, nail this guy. Because that South Carolina is going to start shooting at you very, very soon. But again. And we've already seen that the South Carolina knows how to shoot. He's launching torpedoes at the Wix. He's never going to hit a destroyer with torpedoes, surely? Actually, it's debatable whether or not the destroyer is going to survive long enough under this high explosive barrage to run into the torpedoes. Yeah, he's got him. Now that was pretty close. Was that close enough for the Wix to get torpedoes in the water? You have to assume he did, as he continues to rain fire down on this South Carolina. I'm not seeing any torpedoes though. It looks like he's gotten away with it. Oh, and he's been hit again. I swear this South Carolina's firing high explosive shells. Bismarck's sitting here on just under 8,000 health. The South Carolina could sink him with one armor-piercing citadel penetration. And yet he's not firing armor-piercing. He's in a battleship and he's firing high explosive at a cruiser. So while this guy is definitely a good shot, I mean he's proven that on multiple occasions up until now, he just is not firing the right ammunition. And you've got to ask yourself how differently this game would have panned out if the South Carolina had been firing armor-piercing. Here it comes. There you go. He's knocked out his steering. Not a huge problem. All of the guns that he wants to fire at this South Carolina are able to fire at him anyway. And here it comes again. He's not doing enough damage. And Bismarck has managed to get his torpedoes away. How do you think this one's going to end? It's no real surprise, is it? Yeah. Look at that. Bismarck had just over 8,000 health when that South Carolina started focusing him down after he finished off the Wix. The battleship hit him at least 8 times and didn't kill him. And he didn't kill him because he was firing high explosive. But you can quite clearly see just how important it is to be firing the right ammunition at the right target. The South Carolina showed us how to not do it, and Bismarck is showing you how you should be doing it. You'll see every time he switched to armor piercing, it was the right target. He started scoring citadel penetrations, did a lot of damage very quickly, and usually, in every case but one, managed to get the kill. Unfortunately, the question of exactly when you should be switching to armor piercing and when you should be using high explosive isn't really that straightforward. It depends entirely on what kind of ship you're sailing, what caliber of guns your ship has, and how likely you are to be able to penetrate or over-penetrate whatever it is you're shooting at. He's just spotted the enemy carrier, the Hosho, Japanese Tier 4. He starts firing at him with high explosive, and he's doing that to put his flight deck out of commission by setting him on fire. This is going to prevent him from launching any dive bombers, which are going to be a bigger threat right now, given the low state of his health, or torpedo bombers. His first couple of barrages of high explosive didn't do the trick, so he popped some torpedoes into the water, switches to armor piercing because now he just wants to sink this guy as quickly as possible so he can turn around and go after the lone surviving enemy battleship, Wyoming. The general rule of thumb is that if your armor piercing is going to penetrate whichever target you're shooting at, but is not going to over penetrate, that's why you don't fire armor piercing at destroyers, because they just don't have any armor, then fire armor piercing at them. If you cannot penetrate, or if you're going to over penetrate, fire high explosive. Well, that's all well and good, Jingles, but how do I know when I'm going to penetrate and when I'm going to over-penetrate? Well, that's something that comes with experience, I'm afraid. But generally speaking, if you're in a cruiser, for example, fire high explosive at battleships and destroyers, because you can't penetrate a battleship and you're going to over-penetrate a destroyer, and you can pretty much get away with firing armor piercing at everything else, including carriers, if you just want to sink them really, really quickly. Like this. Oh, a couple of bounces there. You see how armor angling does actually work in World of Warships. See, the angle at which he's striking the side of that Hosho is actually resulting in some bounces. But now, as the angle straightens out, penetration, broadside shot right into the side of the ship, not at an angle, and he sinks him. Bismarck then spends the next couple of minutes furiously chasing after that Wyoming, only to see him fall to torpedo bomber attack from the two friendly carriers just as he gets inside shooting range, and does manage to score a little bit of extra damage, but he's just going to have to be satisfied with 7 kills, 7,000 experience, and 593,000 credits from that match instead. Damage done, 103,961 with his armor piercing. Who says cruiser captains just spam high explosive at everything? 68,000 with his high explosive, 21,000 from the fires that he set from the high explosive, and a mere 4,947 from his torpedoes, for a grand total of 198,880 damage. So, Bismarck 121, congratulations, you win yourself one of these. This is the Mikasa, a premium tier 2 Japanese battleship. I hope you enjoy it. And that, of course, just leaves us with the guy who won the most damage overall in any class of ship. Unfortunately, this is where we run into a slight problem. As anybody who watched this week's episode of Bingles with Jingles will already be aware. I took a little trip down to Chatham a couple of weeks ago, and while I was away, a certain person who shall remain nameless, but her name starts with R and ends in Eta, decided that she was going to play World of Warships on my PC, and that meant she had to update World of Warships to the current version, and that meant that I was suddenly no longer able to view any of the replays that had been sent in for the contest. Luckily, I had already managed to pre-record everything that I needed, except for the replay that included the most damage done overall in any category of ship. I've been in touch with Wargaming. I've tried to get a download link to an earlier version of World of Warships which would allow me to actually watch the replay and record the gameplay footage for you, but there's nothing they can do to help me. However, I am sitting here with a free Tirpitz to give away to somebody, and I did say it would go to the person that did the most damage overall in any class of ship during the course of this contest, and a clear winner did emerge, and so he is going to get the Tirpitz, even though all I can show you are his post-battle result screens. And so, Gorgutzer, I understand that you got a bit excited when you saw that iChase Gaming had done just over 300,000 damage in his aircraft carrier and won the prize for the aircraft carrier. You want to know why didn't you win? Well, you didn't win because you did the most damage overall. 350,000 damage in your USS Midway aircraft carrier. And in your game, I really wish I could have showed you this match, because I've actually watched it. I just didn't record it at the time. Unlike in iChase's game, where he did well, but he did well under the most beneficial possible matchmaking, just hordes and hordes and hordes of enemy tier 8 Tirpitz battleships. Gorgutz's match was significantly tougher. There were 14 tier 10 ships in his match. The enemy team in his match had 6 tier 10 ships, including 3 Yamato battleships, a Zhao-class cruiser, a Montana tier 10 battleship, and a USS Midway tier 10 aircraft carrier. He sank 5 ships, including 3 of the tier 10s, and shot down 24 of the enemy aircraft, earning himself over 3,600 base experience. And in order to earn that much experience, just look at the damage that he did. His dive bombers set fires for a total of 69,317 damage. His torpedoes caused floods for a total of 13,446 damage. His bombs did 31,000 direct damage with 21 direct hits, and 40 torpedo hits scored a grand total of 228,210 damage. All of which resulted in a damage total of just over 342,000. So Gorgutzer, congratulations. No, You didn't win the Diana for scoring the most damage in an aircraft carrier, but you did win the Tirpitz for scoring the most damage done overall. And I really wish I could have shown you his replay because it was absolutely spectacular. And that's it for the World of Warships official release replay contest. Congratulations to all of the prize winners, and those of you who did win a prize, I hope you at least had fun playing the games that you sent in, because there were some truly spectacular games submitted. None of which, of course, none of which I am able to watch anymore. But congratulations to all anyway. That's it for today, folks. I am now off to Comic-Con. I will be back on Monday with Mingles with Jingles, and footage from Comic-Con down at the MCM Expo Centre in London. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.